Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it must be Monday. Welcome to the Monday Night Raw Wrestling Inc. after show. And that's right, you guys. We were all thinking it all week long. The big return happened. Raj Giri showed up to the after show. The return everyone was thinking it was going to happen tonight. Raj here, along with Jimmy and myself, Jack. So good to see you guys. Raj, how have you been? How's it been being a free man?
Man, I did a little summer of Raj this summer. I just did a lot of traveling. I haven't had a break in like 25 years. So yeah, I took a little time off. I was still keeping up with wrestling, but I wasn't watching it live. And yeah, it was kind of a nice breather, selling the site, but still being involved, but also not having to, kind of be watching over every piece of the site. So it was kind of nice.
I was saying to Jimmy last week after we went off the air, as soon as you left, it seems like things got really fun.
I know. No kidding. Like all the news, it was the most crazy news run, I think, for wrestling and ever, like since the 90s, maybe.
Yeah. Talk about Murphy's Law, right?
Right. I know. Like literally like weeks after. It started with Sasha and Naomi and then all this other stuff. And then Vince. It's just been insane.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone in the chat. I appreciate it.
Yes, like I said, the big return. Everyone was on Twitter was buzzing about the big return tonight, and
yeah,
I know they were referring to you coming back.
Of course.
So
what else could it be?
Exactly.
So as always, before we get into things, we have some news we want to touch on and some breaking news that happened during the show. I don't even have an official link in front of me right now, but apparently. Velveteen Dream has ran into legal troubles again. Sounds like it was his second time since August. He ran into some legal troubles. And it sounds like it was in regards to some drug paraphernalia things. Raj, you're the news man. Walk us through it.
Sure. So he was arrested a few days ago on August 26th. This was the most recent one for an out-of-county warrant for possession of drug paraphernalia in Florida. And actually, it was his second arrest within a span of like under a week, because he was also arrested on August 20th by Orlando police for first-degree battery and trespassing on property after a warning. Those are first-degree misdemeanors, and he bonded out a couple days later for $1,200 and pled not guilty. So, yeah, a rough month for Velveteen Dream.
Jimmy, you've been backstage and you've worked at WWE for a long time. And of course, wrestlers have had issues, personal issues. In your experience, getting arrested for something like drug paraphernalia or these kind of things, is it completely detrimental to someone ever coming back? Is it person to person? Is there any insider information? All the other stuff aside, obviously. Let's just take that, put that in a box, and put it to the side for now. Let's just talk about the arrests. Is that something that kind of holds someone back from coming back?
It's so weird because it's not like A, B, C. This is the way it goes. If this happens, it's across the board. Some people will tend to get some lenience depending. Obviously, first-time offenders will get a little bit of a break, especially now that times have changed. Back in the day when it was the wild, wild west, my goodness, what was going on? It was like, if you got caught, we'll put you away for a little, we'll keep you off TV for a little while. And by then, the news didn't get out like it gets out now.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's tough to keep these things quiet now. So with all the wellness program and that sort of thing going on right now, and the I don't know how often they test nowadays, but even when I was there, I got tested on a regular basis, and everybody has to follow the same protocols now. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are on the top of the card, bottom of the card, you kind of get treated the same. But if I would have to say, again, this is not a edict from them. This is from me. If you are someone who they see money in eventually down the road, depending, they will find a way to bring you back.
Yeah. And, the drug paraphernalia, I don't know if that charge is necessarily as serious, but the other one, a first-degree battery and trespassing on property after a warning, that seems to be like more serious one. So, It's just crazy. Just think, like a couple years ago, people were talking about Velveteen Dream against John Cena at WrestleMania, and John Cena was specifically referencing Velveteen Dream, and it's just crazy what's happened.
Before all the issues came up, before we knew about any of those things, I thought Velveteen Dream was going to be the biggest star in WWE at some point because he was super young. He seemed like he had everything you were looking for in an absolute superstar.
Yeah, that match he had on the Takeover with Aleister Black, I remember thinking, like, this is his like coming out superstar moment. Like, that match was awesome. He just looked and came across as just a giant star, and it just seemed like he was a can't miss. And he missed.
He missed. Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of missing, a tag team is missing the chance to be in a video game. FTR is not going to be in the AEW video game, and they had a chance to react to it on Give Me Sport. They said the only real issue is we were kind of blindsided by it. This is Wheeler talking. We found out not how you would expect. And when you find out something like that, something major like being taken out of a video game, your mind automatically assumes the worst. So far for us, it was like, is this something we need to worry about? Should we read between the lines here? They continued on, though, saying they're not upset, saying FTR is not upset about being left out. FTR does not blame anyone from pulling us out of the game. That's what Harwood said later on. Monday afternoon, Sports Gamers Online managing editor Mike Straw revealed some information about why they may have been left out of Fight Forever. Update regarding FTR AEW Fight Forever. One reason I was told was that there were some issues with moveset captures and animations. This has caused changes to game's launch roster, which includes FTR. It's not the whole roster, but it's not the whole answer, but it's a logical reason why. I'm struggling with reading today. Raj, you made me nervous. The boss man's back in the chair here.
Read it right.
You ruined it, Jack. You ruined it. But so they're not in the game, and I would be devastated if I was in the game. But it sounds like there's a reason for it. I actually went to school for video game art and design, so I know that if you're having issues with things like animation stuff, it can be a big issue, and budgets are pretty hairy for video games. So, Raj, I don't know how much you know about video games. You said you had an Xbox sitting around collecting dust, so probably not. But is there anything to read into here? Does this just sound like cutting room floor stuff?
That's kind of what it sounds like. I feel like that's a big omission, though. FTR, basically the number 2 tag team, or in a lot of people's opinion, the number 1 tag team in the company for a while now, and to not be in the video game. And I know, they could be a DLC or whatnot, but even with DLC, you're not as many people will get the DLC as they do the original game. Mm-hmm. So it's still less people playing them, overall. But they don't seem upset by it. So ultimately, I guess that's what matters most. I just think it's just been weird with FTR in the sense that they're in this random 6-man tag at All Out, this Sunday, which they should be in a bigger match. And same as Wardlow. Wardlow's in that 6-man tag, and he was like on fire just a few months ago. And they've just both been really cooled off when they seemed so hot a couple months ago. So it's just hearing the video game stuff on top of this, it just seemed like I think a lot of people were reading more into it, but it's probably not ultimately a big deal. They probably ultimately will be in the game as DLC, but it's just been a weird couple months for those guys.
Jimmy, are you a video game person?
At the risk of becoming the Canadian heat magnet big time on here. Yeah, sorry, it's a cheap plug.
Subtle.
That from Mick Foley. Yes, very subtle. I'm not a gamer. See, this isn't my territory. And as someone who has been omitted from video games in the past, it is very recently. It is a little disappointing. And my understanding is there is money to be made off being in these video games. And I don't know if they were compensated for not being in the video game in some form or fashion, but at the same time, you could probably speak to this better, Jack, because you said you went to school for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
The move capture being an issue with these guys who don't do twisting, burning 450 hammer Phoenix splash, or do they, or is that needed to be in the video game? Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I got you. But you know what I mean? I don't know. That just sounds kind of, let's put it this way. Sounds a little fishy to me. And it sounds like, oh, this sounds like a good reason we could use. But like Raj said, if FTR is truly okay with it, then who am I to complain? But then again, it's an opportunity, I thought, for them to make some extra money, which is basically what it's the wrestling business, not, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what AEW's model is with these video games, because WWE, they pay royalties to each person in the game. So if you're DLC, I'm assuming you don't make money off the regular sales. You're only making money from the DLC, correct? Like if you're a member of if you're part of the DLC and not the actual game itself when it's first released.
I have no idea how that works from that standpoint. Because I would imagine I imagine football players, because everything else I imagine is just part of just a flat fee that you get for being in the game.
Yeah,
I would imagine, but wrestling seems like it might be different.
Yeah,
but that's I don't know.
And Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong, but those video game royalties used to be huge back in the day for talent.
Oh, guys loved it. Loved being in the video game. Loved those royalty checks that came in. It was, they popped huge for those.
Yeah, but maybe that's why, I don't know, maybe if they have different fees, maybe that's one of the reasons they got cut. Maybe they were charging a lot and they just said, we got, because I imagine there's a lot on the line with this game. If this game doesn't make money, I don't know what their budgets are, but they've probably put a lot of money into this game. And if it doesn't make money, it's going to hurt a lot more than a low buy rate on a pay-per-view, I would think. I think this is going to be pretty painful if it flops.
And I've got to think it's going to do well. I think it's going to be because it's so much of their audience is that demo, and the young males that are probably gamers and are really up to stuff like that. So I mean that's just my guess, but I would think it's going to do well.
Yeah. Well, we speaking of people who were off and then coming back, Sasha and Naomi are being rumored to return. Despite walking out of the company during an episode of Raw on May 16th, former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion Sasha Banks and Naomi should be back any week now, according to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer Radio. Brian Alvarez also noted that the two women are now listed on the internal roster, indicating that they've seemingly solved whatever issues they had when they decided to walk out due to a creative dispute. Raj, are you ready for the Twitter storm you're going to have to endure of people saying that they never actually left the company?
Right. I mean, I've actually been saying for over a month now that WWE's been trying to get them back. But whatever, if that's Twitter, bring it on. But I mean, I think there were a lot of people expecting them back tonight. I think it makes more sense to wait until after the pay-per-view because you kind of starting anew. And so it makes more sense to get the 6-man or 6-woman tag out of the way and then bring in Sasha and Naomi and really heat this division up. So I think next week would be when I would expect them.
Jimmy, was there a big return like this in your time that you remember being backstage for? A person maybe walked out unhappy and came back, and what was that like in the locker room?
Oh, trying to think back now. I wish I could think of something off the top of my head.
What about Warrior at WrestleMania 8?
Oh my goodness, yes. I remember everybody there. Let's put it this way. There weren't a lot of people that were on Warrior's side when he decided to walk away. Let's put it that way. He wasn't the most popular guy. With me personally, I got along with Jim very well. There was no issue there. But coming back, it was a huge deal. Nobody expected it. Mm-hmm. And I love when it's a secret. It's kind of like when they kept it secret about John Cena coming back at Rumble in Madison Square Garden, I want to say. Yeah. And I remember, here's the funny thing though. They're keeping it so quiet. And I was just getting ready to head to the ring to, because the referees just stand outside the ring during the match. Sorry to ramble on here, but so nobody knew who the last man was going to be entering the Royal Rumble. They kept it a secret, even in the meeting. They didn't tell anybody because they didn't want to take a chance on this leaking. But I happened to be, this was when I was in my bad habit. There's a place at Madison Square Garden where you can hide and like sneak a cigarette. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I have since reformed that, but so I'm there, I'm hiding and I, put it out and I'm walking back and a limo pulls up this long rampway and a guy gets out and he's covered with a blanket. And I'm saying, that's gotta be the secret guy they got at number 20 that they wouldn't tell us who it was. But then I look down at the shoes and I see the Reebok pumps. And I go, oh, I know who it is. And I wanted to tell somebody so bad, but I bit my tongue for like 20 minutes. I said, forget it. I ain't saying nothing.
She was like, Jimmy, you can't see me. I'm not.
Well, I couldn't see him. I could just see his shoes, his Reeboks.
Well, as we continue on, we got some ratings news from over the weekend regarding Rampage and SmackDown, and it seems a little one-sided this week. AEW Rampage averaged 431,000 viewers on Friday night, which is down 7% from last week, and was down 9% in that key demo. And year over year, Rampage is down 40% in total viewers, and the key demo is down 68%. Last year's episode was the week following CM Punk's debut and was the second highest in the show's history, though. SmackDown, on the other hand, averaged just under 2 million viewers and was up 2% in that key demo. It was once again preempted in some markets due to the NFL starting on Friday. And it was number one on all of television in the demo. Year over year, SmackDown was down 12% in total viewers, and the demo was down 19%. However, last year's episode was the post SummerSlam show. That information coming from Raj Giri Twitter. Raj, you are the ratings analysis guru. Anything to read into? I feel like SmackDown seems pretty good. Seems like Rampage is struggling.
Yeah, SmackDown, I mean, it should, it was preempted in a bunch of markets like the Cowboys, the Saints, the Seahawks, the Patriots. They were all playing on Friday night. So it was preempted in all those markets and I think one or two more. So, starting next week, their ratings are going to be kind of back to normal where they were. I mean, this was Friday night was kind of one of those rare weeks where SmackDown beat the NFL, but it's preseason. So on the NFL network, but SmackDown did beat everything on all of TV that night. And, again, we're in the summer. Programming's weaker in the summer. It's going to start getting heated next month. But, so for SmackDown, kind of what they've been doing. I wouldn't say it was great or definitely not bad, but, just what they've been doing. For Rampage, gosh, I don't know. They got to do something with the show because that 0.11, that 0.11 in the 18 to 49 demo, that's the lowest they've done. It's tied with one other episode for the lowest that they've done in that time slot. You mentioned the year over year. It's not quite fair doing year over year right now just because Rampage was brand new last year. It was the week after CM Punk's return. But you look at what they were doing in October and November, and it was way higher than what they're doing now. So, Rampage is struggling. And I think just with fans in general, I feel like it just feels like a completely missable show.
Yeah, Jimmy, is there anything you take away from Rampage? Their numbers are down. I mean, Raj makes a great point. It's not real fair to go year to year, but just in general, it's been kind of trending down where SmackDown kind of trending. I mean, not trending like massively up, but it was trending down. It's kind of reversed a little bit. Any thoughts on the trajectory of Rampage?
It's a many-faceted thing. I mean, like, especially now, because ratings are not anywhere near what they used to be for pro wrestling for any company right now, obviously, even especially the big two. Back in the day, the big two were doing huge numbers, but it was a different time. And I guess you can attribute some of it to the way people are taking in their wrestling now. Are they watching it live? Are they watching it later? How are they watching their wrestling right nowadays? But at the same time, I think Rampage suffers from the same thing their Wednesday night show does, but to more of an extent because it's only an hour-long show, and they try to cram so much into that hour. It's just sometimes it's just, I don't know, too much. 20 pounds of potatoes in the 10-pound bag, as I like to say. And maybe people it's too much, We see on Monday nights that 3 hours of wrestling is tough to watch. Now you've got a lead-in of 2 hours of SmackDown, and if you're a real wrestling fan, like a hardcore fan, you might want to stay tuned and watch what the other guys are doing. But a lot of people are like, okay, 2 hours is cool enough for me. That's enough. I'm done for the night. Maybe I could watch it tomorrow or something like that. So maybe that's affecting the numbers too.
I'm a big wrestling fan. I like AEW, but I haven't watched Rampage live in a very long time. It's definitely a record and watch later for me.
And just to let people know, up here in Canada, we don't get it live on television, so you do have to either stream it off the service provider that the TV provider that provides it up here, the station, which is TSN up here in Canada, or again, find a way to watch it online.
Yeah, I think when Rampage debuted, I think a lot of people were hoping that the numbers would be strong enough that they'd get a better time slot. They'd get moved to it, earlier, or maybe a different day. But when you look at the landscape, there's not really many other days you could put it on. Really, Thursday would be the only one. And Tony Khan has said he doesn't want to go against the NFL, so that rules Thursday out. Wednesday's Dynamite. I guess you could do Tuesday, but doing 2 days back to back really doesn't make sense. Yeah. Monday they wouldn't do. So you don't really have a lot of options, and it's not like TNT has been trying to move it into prime time and change that time slot. So,
how about 6:05 on Saturday nights?
That would be ideal.
So before we get into the show, we do have a few super chats I want to make sure we get to here. First off, we have and let me know if I say this name right. Is it Leonza Duncan? I don't care. Aaliyah's tag was actually smart and effective. ASF. We'll obviously break it down at the end, but I didn't want you to wait the whole show before we got to it, so I wanted to shout that out. But we'll definitely talk about that tag there at the end. And then Ralph,
well done.
Ralph the Ace. Happy Monday, guys. Reading my timeline after the main event. Some people just need to relax and enjoy the show. It's just wrestling. I liked being surprised by the tag outcome. Can you all imagine Twitter in the 80s and 90s?
Oh, man.
We'll talk about that main event at the end, obviously. But since we do have two big super chats, so let's say a little bit about it. Were you shocked, I guess, by the reaction? And Jimmy, we'll start with you. Did you have a chance to see Twitter, or were you shocked by people's reactions to the show?
I am shocked that people were bugged by the finish. I didn't see it coming. I thought, obviously, with the news we talked about of a possible returning tag team, that maybe it made more sense for Kai and Sky to come out victorious in this tournament with the titles. But then at the same time, it's nice when something happens that you don't expect, and this is nice, and you're elevating young talent this way. And, people clamor for the elevation of young talent all the time. And then when it happens, they're going, I can't believe they put the titles on that. Oh, please. The only issue I had with it is the finish itself. You talked about the creative tag. That I loved. I'm just having a problem with the latest influx of the roll-up of Doom happening a little too frequently. That's the only thing.
And from story, did the referee even see that tag? So would that have
he did.
He did? Okay.
He did, and even acknowledged it.
Okay.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that tag that we'll get into at the end.
Okay.
And I also think
I think I know where he's going.
If the champions are probably not going to hold the titles for that long, if Naomi and Sasha are coming back, then you probably don't want to put it on Io Sky and Dakota Kai right now. You don't want them to have a short reign. So they had a reason why they lost. There was interference, and
right.
So
I get that, but at the same time, do you want this young team that you're trying to elevate have a short reign as well? Well, it's you're kind of caught in a rock and a hard spot.
Right. I just don't know if the plan is for them to be a tag team for the long term, or if it was just put together for this tournament, like a lot of those teams were. They were just kind of random. Whereas Io and Dakota are going to be, I think they're going to be together for a while.
Fair point.
Well, as we get going into the actual show, I do always like to say thank you to everybody who is watching along on YouTube Live, or if you are listening to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get it. Thanks so much for being here. Hit the 5-star like button, comment, share, all that. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and leave a fun little comment in there. I always check, waiting for someone to leave something nice about me there. I haven't gotten one yet, so give me a nice comment on there. But also, everyone in the chat, Baby Ice, we got Rocky, we got Kelvin, we've got George and Adam and JT and Forgotten MMA and No Bueno Crew, Ghost and Bernie DC and Alex and Sergio and Jorge and High Sloth and Anwar Ali and Western Outsiders. Thank you so much for being here in the chat with us. Thank you so much. Let's talk about this show. I love the way the show started. I don't even know how to get into this. We had AJ Styles and Dolph Ziggler versus Judgment Day, a match both teams needed to win, but the story was really the relationship between AJ and Finn antagonizing AJ. Ref gets distracted, and Priest is able to hit a choke slam for the win. Edge shows up, and Judgment Day stays in the ring. Edge basically says all the stuff that he taught them is corny now, and then the Mysterios get the Judgment Day. Dom and Rhea circle each other in the ring before Rhea takes the kendo stick from him. The good guys show up, and it's a standoff before Judgment Day helps her escape. Why did I love the beginning so much? Because it was Raj's first day back in so long, and what did he start off with? The Magic Group. I was so excited about that. Raj, this is your first segment back in so long. How do you feel this whole scenario has evolved since you've left?
Well, they removed the magic, which I like. So they're not like, matches aren't ending with scary faces, and the lights turning blue. So I thought this was good. It's funny, if I told you had 3 weeks in a row with either Raw or Dynamite opening with a match and the other show opening with a promo segment, which would it be? And I'm sure most people would say Raw is opening with the promo segment. And it's actually been the opposite lately. And not that I'm saying one is better or worse. I just like that it's different, because you used to always have the formulaic promo opening the show, and now to do it with the match to kick things off, I thought it was cool. I think the one problem with the show tonight, and this has been a lot of the weeks recently, is you have these long matches, which is great, but then the crowd is just dead. And once the match starts, the crowd is just quiet. And when you have a long match with no heat, it just makes it feel longer. And even though the match itself was really good and the work was great, the crowds, once the matches start, they just zip up.
The crowd tonight was terrible, and I blame one individual, and his name is Justin LaBar.
Yeah, he was there.
I don't know why he wasn't. I should have heard his voice specifically during that matchup. Yeah. But Jimmy, I want to ask you, Ziggler, is he taking too many L's?
I don't know if he's taking too many L's. I don't know if that's the right terminology. He's definitely not getting the W's, that's for sure. And a guy like Ziggler has been around, and yes, he's a veteran who's here now. His job is to elevate talent, and they keep saying, as we say here, you can get over without going over, but sometimes you have to go over as well. That being said, in this situation, Raj talked about opening up with a match, which myself included was like, oh, this is great. They're going to start off with a tag match as opposed to, doing the promo segment, which leads to, furthering the storyline with, let's say, Judgment Day and Edge and Rey Mysterio and that sort of thing. In this case, despite the fact that the match was actually pretty good, I think this was a time where they didn't need that match, because the match really meant nothing. At the end of the day, in my opinion, they could have actually began with Judgment Day doing that promo that they did at the end of the match, and then show Edge pulling up in that Jeep or Mercedes SUV and do that whole segment afterwards. This was the one time where they didn't need that match to lead into the story being told afterwards, in my opinion. They could have gone the other way. They've of course planted seeds at the end there too, with not only Edge, but with Dominic as well. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the match, but at the same time, I felt, why was it necessary?
Well, and that leads me to Raj. I sort of asked these guys before, but you haven't been on in a while. With Triple H back and now Finn and AJ in the ring together, antagonizing each other, do you think Bullet Club and their history and stuff is stuff you want to see revisited, or is that too far in the past? Are you kind of interested in that or over it, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it would be great to kind of go into that again, because I feel like it was never really done. Like it was mentioned in passing, things like that, but not as part as of a big story. So I'd like to see a Finn and AJ feud and really playing into their past, and I think that'd be money. I think so. Yeah, I'd like to see it.
They have some good matches, that's for sure. We do have a quick match after that, and it's Alexa Bliss, Asuka, and Bianca Belair teaming up against the trio of local talent. Jimmy, the good guys get the win here, and they stand tall afterwards. We see matches where people have matches with the local talent, but rarely do we see 6-person tags with local talents. Do you think this was good to see these guys together? These girls together?
Why not? Since it's leading to the pay-per-view, I guess it's okay. And you have to see that there is some kind of cohesion with them as well. And, every once in a while, an enhancement talent match doesn't hurt. And in this case, it didn't hurt. It actually, I thought, helped to some regard show that these women can work together. And it showed that now that we have new women's tag team champions, which we won't give away who yet. Well, we already did, didn't we? Yeah, we kind of gave it. But hey, maybe that works into something down the road. Who knows?
Raj, this was a match. Clearly, I mean, not a whole lot on the line here, but there's a triple threat match coming up at Clash of the Castle. But is there also something to this kind of reinforcing possibly Alexa Bliss and Asuka as a tag team as they build out that women's tag team division? Or am I looking too far into this and this is just them teaming up before Clash of the Castle?
That's what it seemed like to me. Like just giving them a win. When you brought up a minute ago about how you haven't seen a trios match with enhancement talent, and when I was watching the show, I was trying to remember that. It's like, when have I ever seen that since like the 80s or 90s maybe? And I when the Freebirds would wrestle enhancement talent, I can't think of any. And so I liked it. I thought it was different. I prefer that as opposed to them wrestling someone they faced a bunch of times before already. And it gives them, those 3 local talent. It gives them some exposure, and it's almost like a tryout. So, and I know of 2 of the women that were in the match, and they're really good. So, I think move on to better things.
It's a great opportunity for the people who get the chance to be in there. I think, with the 3, it let them like kind of all hit their finishers and be fun and exciting, as opposed to just, usually it's like the big guy, like an Omos, like hitting a big chop and then like a big boot, and it's like kind of slower. These things got to happen, and it was fun.
One thing we didn't mention, did we mention Edge coming backstage in the Mercedes?
Oh yeah, we brushed over it, but. Okay. I don't know if you have any thoughts. I did love that. That's how you keep me over the course of a commercial break. I remember thinking is the showdown coming. But what did you think of it, Raj?
Well, I was going to say just what I said earlier about the crowd reactions. That seems specifically for the matches, because all those segments, like that Edge thing, the interviews in the ring, the crowd was hot for it. Like they were lively for those. It was just the matches. Like they were just quiet during the matches.
Do you think that maybe the crowd is just ready for Clash of the Castle, and a lot of these rivalries, they're kind of like, okay, we're ready. We're ready to see this play out. We're kind of over the build.
Maybe to some extent, waiting to see what happens. But at the same time, I think it depends too, because when you watch some wrestling on television, it's nonstop action from bell to bell. And I think they're not... Nowadays, you get that quietness in matches that kind of slow down and start telling a story, then build back up. Because to Roger's point about them being quiet, later on in the match, when they're moving towards the finishes, they start getting the people back. It's just that part in the middle where they kind of lose them a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the crowds have been like this pretty recently, or maybe it's just been for a while. But I haven't noticed that on SmackDown. Like SmackDown, they felt alive for most of the show. So
is it because they're taking out the fake crowd noise?
I feel like they still have it, because you hear that like that buzz, that ambient noise. Whereas you look in the crowd, no one's moving, but you still have that. It's not like a loud crowd reaction, but it's just that that weird buzz. So I don't know.
That's so funny. It's so funny. You get so used to it that until you like you say it, you're like, yeah, that is weird. Why is there that buzz? It's like when there's an air conditioner on the whole time, and you don't realize it's there until someone turns it off. You're like,
Yep.
Well, one part of the night, probably the moment of the night, I think, was Kurt Angle comes out, and he barely gets a few words in before Gable comes out and says that he's a fan of Angle and wants him to join the Alpha Academy. Angle says no, and we get a shoosh off. And before they can do anything about it, the Street Profits come out and they start rhyming. If the Profits lose, Kurt must join the Alpha Academy. Two great teams go at it. It's another long match. They trade ankle locks before Dawkins launches Otis over the announce table. Montez hits the frog splash. Profits try to drink with Angle, but Angle wants them to drink milk instead. Raj, have you ever shooshed a shooster? Shooster? Have you
had a shoe shop? I can't. Have we ever had one on this podcast? I can't. I don't recall. I thought Kurt's always, it's always great seeing him, and all the stuff that he's battled through, over the decades, and seeing him out there and in good graces with the company. There was a time when, it seemed like he was never coming back to WWE again. Like that door was shut. And to see that, I thought it was a fun bit. Some of the shoe shop stuff felt like stuff from the Vince era, to me. But, it worked with the crowd. The crowd liked it. And I guess that's the most important thing. So,
yeah, I think for these kind of things, the kind of corny stuff is okay for me because, like, it doesn't. If it was him doing that to, like, him and Finn Balor doing it, I'd be like, what are you doing? But, like, when it's like this was a goofy. Kurt Angle might be the very best at, like, just taking it on the chin and being an idiot.
Yeah, he did it a couple times on this show.
My question to you, Jimmy, is if you're in the crowd and Angle throws some milk in the crowd and you catch it, are you drinking that milk?
For me, it better be lactose free, but that's the only thing I can say. But yeah, absolutely, if Kurt Angle, but then again, you start thinking it'd be nice to keep it as a souvenir but then keep the souvenir empty bottle because as we all know, milk can go bad. And getting back to that, the fun Kurt Angle that we get to see, like back in the day when he was in the office with Vince and Steve Austin and stuff like that. When he came out and he got the mic. Right away, I was thinking to myself, I hope Chad Gable comes out with a guitar and that little hat. That's what I wanted to see, and just that I would have lost it right there. But
I was thinking it would have been cool if they had Jason Jordan do a little cameo in this segment too, because he's got history with Gable. He's got the whole unresolved storyline with Kurt Angle.
Right. That would have been awesome. But Kurt is great at playing off the comedy stuff. And you wouldn't expect that from him. And then once they discovered that back in the day, they said, "Oh, we're running with this thing."
Yeah. I mean, he's the shoe shop. Yeah, like Jack said, it wouldn't have worked with other people, but Kurt was perfect for it because that was his character. A lot was being involved in some silly stuff. So Kurt's, he's one of the best ever at like segments like that. I'm not saying he's as good as he was back in the day with those, but he's still. It was cool seeing him doing that.
Yeah. I thought this was executed perfectly in the sense that is it the most original like idea to have Gable come out and to do the milk and like did I feel like there was real stakes in this? Did I really think that Kurt Angle may join Alpha Academy? No, but it was just fun and stupid and lighthearted, and it was like a feel good moment. I thought it was just a great way to have a hometown hero there that I think in the past probably would have gotten beat down and attacked, and we would have felt horrible about it. But now we were like, oh, this is fun. I liked it.
And that pounce you mentioned earlier that Angelo Dawkins gave Otis, that was just awesome. It was so great. I was like, whoa.
I've never seen Otis move like that.
He flew.
I was like, geez, I think Byron Saxton really got taken out there. So we continue on, and this might actually be the best moment of the night. I don't know. There's a few good moments of the night, I thought, but Rollins and Riddle, there's a fight in the parking lot caught on an iPhone, and then Graves interviews him over satellite, and they talk about the match in Cardiff. But Raj, was after they come back from commercial break and Seth Rollins just starts cutting deep into Riddle. What was your thought? I want to know your thoughts of the idea of filming this like it's on an iPhone, and then the very personal shots and what makes it look like they caught this stuff after air. How do you like the way they're presenting this story?
So I thought this was awesome. I thought this was one of the best things I've seen on WWE TV in a while, because it felt real the way they did it. And so it's kind of a takeoff on when John Jones and Daniel Cormier, I don't know if you ever saw that, but they were doing the same thing, a split screen interview. And then once they were off the air, it kept rolling and they didn't realize it. They were just talking smack. So it was a play on that, but I thought it was brilliantly done, because I thought the promo before that, I was like, that's fine. You know, it felt very normal, you know, your everyday stuff. And then once they did the whole thing where they thought they were done and Seth is calling him out, I thought that just it felt really real, and it felt really heated, and it felt like two guys that really wanted to kill each other. And you don't see that often anymore in WWE. So I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, we actually had a super chat about it. Kelvin Alexander, thanks for being patient. I know you put that up there a second ago, but I wanted to wait till we got to it. Triple H in his bag, booking 101, personal issues draw money. Can't wait to see Riddle versus Seth. And Jimmy, the thing about this, and I want to get your thoughts on this, what I love is we've always talked about Seth Rollins feels like he's playing a character when he's doing the laughing stuff. But that's what made him get very serious at the end, and like just talking like he was digging into Riddle. Feel like it hurts so much more. Like if you always talk like that, you'd be like, oh, they're kind of promo. But the fact that like the laughing stopped, the goofiness stopped, and he was, you know, your wife took your kids. Like it was like, oh, geez, this is rough. Like there was kind of like something about having that goofiness to take it away almost made it work better, I thought.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's what did make it work, because it felt, like you said, it felt genuine. It felt real. It felt like there's real animosity between these guys. And, you know, people who think they're in the know are probably now going, ooh, maybe these guys don't really like each other. You know, it's got people questioning it. And that is great. And that's how this business should be. You should make people, you can have all kinds of stuff. It's a variety show. You can have the comedy, you can have the other stuff. But at the same time, the money, where you draw the money, is with real issues that feel like they're personal. And like you said, they cut deep. And that's what they did here. They made it feel real. They made it feel personal. And I really enjoyed it very much. This and especially the way they made it feel good in shooting it. Okay, we're out, you know, guys.
Yeah.
You know, the whole, just the little nuances like that.
Right.
Awesome.
And Raj, you tweeted something, and I want you to expand on this. Is Matt Riddle used to be presented one way. Now he's being presented very differently. That wasn't an exact quote, but you tweeted something along those lines. Tell me more about what you meant by that.
Right. I mean, basically before, Vince and clearly saw Riddle as just, you know, comedy foil, right? Like he was this goofy guy riding around in a scooter. And now you're seeing more layers to him. You're seeing that he's got this, you know, vicious side. You're seeing that, you know, he's not just happy-go-lucky all the time. And you're starting to see really who he was. He was a UFC fighter, you know. He's really you know, he's a tough guy in real life. And now you're starting to see him presented more as like a serious threat, as opposed to like a Santino Marella. And that's no disrespect to Santino, but, you know, like a comedy act. And it seems like there's, you know, transitioning away from that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I was talking to on Twitter a guy at Goodridge Kasim. We were talking about how he had a great line. He said, I was trying to find it real quick, but I hope Seth Rollins has hands, because Riddle's work 9 to 5. And it's always, you always forget that Riddle could actually beat the crap out of all these people if he wanted to. Like he's actually probably one of, outside of a handful, I'm sure he could probably actually toast all these guys if he ever really wanted to, because you always see him as the goof. But
yeah, that's why I have Haku on speed dial, just in case I need something.
Oh, and the other big news, he got his first name back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's back to being Matt Riddle.
I think that was the other big return people were talking about. Happening tonight. So we also had a few other chats we could get to here. Is Ralph the Ace saying, I say you guys do a quad box with you three plus LeBar moving forward. Love what they're doing with Dexter. Fun potential with his character. We're going to talk about Dexter here in just a second, but the quad box. Raj,
Hey.
you too good for us? I'm gonna put you on the spot. We got to get the
Four corners.
The four corners. The yeah.
yeah. We'll have to do it one of these days for sure.
Yeah, because tonight we're double JR, so we could be
right.
We could be triple JR.
Yeah.
And then we got Steven in the chat asking the question, and Jimmy, I'll throw this one to you. Would you book crossover reigns at Survivor Series?
I don't know. I'd have to see how the story goes. I mean, there's a way you can do it to make it work, but at the same time, the big story here is the length of Roman Reigns' reign. I don't know if you want to do it that quick. Let's put it that way. I know you don't want to put Cross on the shelf too much and have him kind of like floundering, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, I don't know if Survivor Series would be the right time for something like that.
Yeah, I think Reigns is at that point. He's not just there to make new guys look good. Like, you've got to be a name to beat him. Kind of like Brock Lesnar. Like, Brock Lesnar wasn't just like, hey, new guy in town, let's have him beat Brock and become a big star. You know, you got to be somebody before you chalk up a win over the tribal chief, I would think.
There is so much equity now in Reigns' title reign, for lack of a better term, that when he loses, it should be to the next big up and coming star, someone that's really looking like they're on their way to becoming a giant star. You know, kind of like how Cody was feeling there. If he sustained that, then he should be the guy to beat Roman, and it should be at WrestleMania. It should be at the show of shows, not one of the B shows, and it should be a big deal. So
not at Stomping Ground.
What's that?
It shouldn't happen at Stomping Ground.
Not at Stomping Ground.
Not the Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, right. And look, I don't think it should be at Clash at the Castle. I understand a lot of people thinking Drew should win. It's it's in Europe, but I just because it's in someone's hometown doesn't mean I feel like they should win. Even though it's a nice story, I get if they end up going that way, I get it. But I just think that big win should be saved for the right moment, for the right talent on the right.
I agree with you, and I feel bad because I saw Drew the other day when he was last week when he was here in Toronto, and he's a good dude, but at the same time, not the right time.
Yeah. The fact that everyone believes that he's going to win is how good WWE is doing things right now. That's how you know they're doing a good job. But
because they're having guys win in their hometowns and their home bases, which back in the day, back in my day, as 23 used to say, you hated wrestling in your hometown because you never won.
Right. Or even worse, you'd sometimes just get humiliated. Like anytime JR was in Oklahoma, you always knew it was going to be really bad for him.
Peter in the chat adds another question. Jimmy, when WWE purchased WCW, did you expect any of the WCW refs to come to WWE? How was the ref locker room at the time when WCW refs came along?
To be honest with you, I fully expected some of the refs to come along, and I didn't have an issue with it because I knew that our TV programming was expanding and the whole bit. But at the same time, there were a few guys that were like, why do we need those guys coming over and stuff like that? But you know what? To be honest with you, I was fine with it because I was comfortable with where I was, pulling double duty, being on the ring crew and also refereeing. So, yes, there were a few guys that weren't happy about it, but, to be honest with you, it's expected in any job where you bring people in that do the same work that you do. Oh, how much is this going to affect me? Am I going to be on TV as much? Am I going to be doing as many shows? Am I taking a cut in pay? That sort of stuff. Of course, people are going to be concerned about it, but in the end, we actually all became good brothers in stripes, as we say.
Yeah.
Jimmy's like, I dare you to take my job.
Right. Because like Nick Patrick came for a little bit. He wasn't there that long. Charles Robinson.
Little Nate.
He's still, Charles, who I got to have dinner with the other night last week, which is cool to see little Nate. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And and also Mickey Henson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then, obviously it was about the same time as ECW as well. So, when Scotty Armstrong came over as well, he was, some of them were ECW. Anyway, it was fine. I didn't have an issue with it, but there were a few guys that did. Let's put it that way. I don't want to call out any names, but.
Well, we got a super chat as well. I want to add here. Bear Hudson with a very kind word here. I want to thank Justin Labar, Jimmy Korderas, and Demon Diva for helping me cope with the loss of my daughter. The Wrestling Inc. podcast family. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, Jimmy, very, very kind words there from Bear Hudson. And Bear, thank you so much for the kind words.
Yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with you, Bear. You and stay strong. I know it's hard. I know you're going through a difficult time, but we're thinking about you, man.
Yeah, stay strong. I cannot even imagine how difficult something like that must be.
Well, we're always here for you, Bear, and we're glad that we can be a part of your Monday night evenings here today and throughout the rest of the week. As we move through the show, Miz is having a very tough go of it. He doesn't want to talk about Dexter Lumis and what happened. Kevin Patrick trying to get an interview. Corey Graves taking interviews. Ciampa pushing him away. Guy can't catch a break. Later on, Pierce says that Dexter's free again, and Miz should really talk about it, but he doesn't want to. He walks to the ring, still clearly distracted by things, and it continues in the match. Ciampa does everything he can to help the Miz. We get a string of Ciampa attempts to help Miz win, but it's not enough as Lumis shows up, distracts Miz, and Lashley puts the Hurt Lock on Miz. Later in the night, Miz leaves, but Dexter is in the back of his car. Raj, this bit with Dexter is it's fun. I'm loving it. It's kind of getting to a point where Ezekiel was with me, where I'm enjoying it, but I kind of want the next part to get here. Like why is he doing this, or something to happen? Where are you at with all this?
I'm kind of the same way. It's still new. I mean, he's only been on for a few weeks now, but yeah, I think because there are a lot of people that watch Raw and SmackDown that didn't watch NXT. So maybe explaining who it is a little bit more. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I think Dexter is a very unique character, and it seems like it's working so far on the main roster. So I thought Ciampa, The Miz, I thought they were all good in their roles here. So the only one I didn't think, oh God, what's the interviewer's name again?
Kevin Patrick.
Kevin Patrick, yes. He came across very forced, but outside of that, everyone else I thought was really good.
Is that why Corey Graves took his job with the big interview of the night? I'm like the only one that kind of like, Kevin Patrick, that was your moment, and Corey Graves took it from you. The big interview.
Yeah. And we were talking about this crowd being so dead tonight, but they popped for Dexter, and then when he was in the back of Miz's car, I thought that was really well done. With the light came on, you see his face. So it was good.
Yeah, Jimmy, where are you at with Dexter? Because, like I said, he is very fun. Like, it's the way they're doing this is fun. I do want to see kind of what happens next. But where are you at with Dexter? Do you like where they're at? Are you digging him? Do you want some explanation of who he is?
Of course, I want the explanation, but that's the beauty of it. We don't know, and they're keeping you guessing, and you want to tune in to find out, is this week going to be the week where we find out what it is he's got against the Miz? And that's the whole thing. You want to draw people in to find out what's going to happen. Again, there is that fine line where you don't want to draw it out too long, but at the same time, you don't want to be quick to the punch either. Let's keep, like you guys said, Dexter showing up, the light coming on in the back of the SUV there, and he's in the back. That was awesome. Yeah. And even the match, little things like Miz kind of looking over his shoulder from time to time during the match, the little nuances again was really good. There was one spot in the match that I thought was actually pretty brilliant, though, is when they were outside the ring and it looked like Bobby was going to run him into the ring post. Miz and Ciampa was hugging the ring post, kind of acting as a padding to protect Miz, and it was like that. Don't recall ever seeing before, but was very well done.
Yeah, if you told me a year ago that we're going to pair Ciampa with the Miz, I wouldn't see it. But it's been really good. Like they work well together, and I think Miz has that. He has that where when he brings someone on, like even whether it was Daniel Bryan way back in the day or John Morrison, he helps bring out the personalities of the people he works with and that he's like tagged alongside with. So he's really good at that.
I think because he's such an over the top character that it makes people feel comfortable being more over the top around him.
Right.
You know, it's like when you have that friend that does karaoke and they're terrible at it, and you're like, well, they're terrible, so I could get up there and be fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Put on Eye of the Tiger. I'll go on now.
Yeah,
They're
there
doing that crap.
Hey,
Yeah.
Margaritaville. That's what everybody is.
Headline: Jack says The Miz is bad at karaoke. But yeah, they've been doing great. I've been enjoying it. We get a very short segment, a very meaningful one though. Angle and Edge are backstage reliving some old times, and then Mysterio says Dom will be in the corner at Clash of the Castle, not in the ring. Jimmy, you've been there for a long time. Isn't it great that Kurt Angle is spending time putting over young talent like Edge?
No, absolutely. Continuing to do so. And you know what? They didn't lose a step. I love the fact that after the first photo, Kurt Angle referenced it, and then they went along and did it anyways. But that was really cool. And then moving forward to telling that story about the tag team match about Ray teaming with Edge, and Dominic being at ringside. Again, there's the seed that's planted for what I think eventually is going to come, because we saw earlier in the night at the end of that opening after the match where Dominic kind of surrendered the kendo stick to Rhea. And they were questioning him, why did you give her the stick? Why did you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And now another seed planted there where he wants to be in the ring, where he doesn't want to be, at ringside as a spectator, so to speak, a cheerleader. So again, there's another seed planted for the possible Mysterio versus Mysterio match down the road.
Yes, and it's kind of timed perfect if they want to make it to WrestleMania, if they pace it right.
Exactly.
Raj, I want to hear your
Jessa, by the way, in the chat. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jack.
Oh no, you want to shout out Jessa in the chat?
Yeah,
saying welcome back, Raj. Don't leave again.
But I forget how famous some of these backstage segments were back in the day. Like when they were doing it, it just, my nostalgia feel good just got all warm and fuzzy. It was such a cool throwback to that original angle that they did. And I thought the only nitpick I had was Kurt Angle when he was looking at the pictures. He was kind of saying what was on the back of the card.
Right.
Yeah, I do suck when the card says you suck, and it wasn't. Anyway,
yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's fine. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah, exactly. That would be my only nitpick. But I thought it was great. It was, and they were like just back. Edge and Kurt Angle. It's like no time had passed. They played off of each other great.
Yeah. Yeah, again, Kurt Angle's ability to look like an idiot holding the signs, just I love it.
And one thing again with the new regime, I feel like Rey Mysterio was kind of taken for granted a bit over the years, and it feels like they're kind of making him more focused and not taking him for granted anymore, and putting him on these pay-per-views and these bigger matches, and not just being, a foil or someone. A legend that somebody squashes to get on to the next guy. So it's nice seeing him get kind of his due again.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Absolutely. He's got to be one of the best all time. I feel like.
Right.
Oh yeah.
I was watching the doc. Did you guys see that, the Rey Mysterio A&E doc?
I haven't had a chance to see it, but I'm going to pull that one up because I love Rey Mysterio.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so good.
Yeah, I have so many great memories of being in the ring with him and just traveling with him and that sort of stuff. He's such a good dude.
So that's what I was going to ask you, Jimmy. Edge said something in that documentary, and when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, in all the years that I've interviewed wrestlers or talked to people, Edge said something, you'll never find someone saying a bad thing about Rey. And I was like, no. Gosh, I've never heard anyone saying a negative thing about Rey that knew him.
No, you can't. He's just that good a dude. And you know what I mean? I just see, and I've known him for so long, like from when he first came over from WCW, that I didn't know him when he was there. And then getting to meet him and getting to meet Dom and Aaliyah when they were all little kids, they were like, hey, these are just little kids, and stuff like that. So seeing him now in the ring is kind of freaking me out, going, wow, that is so cool. Seeing him grow up to be, a WWE superstar. But back to Ray is just awesome guy.
I always say the funny thing about Ray is back in the day, they're like, well, you can't wrestle forever with that style. And now he's the only one still wrestling from that time period. Just crazy the way it works out. So as we continue on, Sami Zayn and the Usos show up and tell us that they're doing a big party for Roman on Friday. Kevin Owens doesn't want to listen to it, though, because he believes Reigns owes him something. But Sammy's like, no, he doesn't. KO says Sammy needs to reassess things. And we get a great back and forth between everyone. And we get to a match. It's a good one. And it all breaks down as the Usos want Sammy to get a chair. But Sammy hesitates. And Kevin Owens hits a stunner and gets the win. Raj, this is the what I love about this kind of thing is it's not just good guy, bad guy, whatever, but there's kind of like crossing interests and what people want. And for me, that's like my favorite wrestling because it's not just cut and dry. It's like, oh, but they have different motives and things like that. How do you like in this entanglement of things for Sammy?
You know, I mentioned the Ciampa Miz thing. Like you wouldn't expect that pairing, and then once it happens, they're gold. And I think Sammy with the Bloodline has just been gold. Like all their segments, just hilarious. Sammy is great in this, and his interactions with Roman. You know, again, I wouldn't expect them to play off each other so well, but they're great. And Kevin Owens, I think he's now basically officially a babyface. He's and so you have all those guys in this one segment outside of Roman, but everyone else. And they're all so good, and I thought this was one of the highlights of the show. I thought they're all really strong, and it does seem that I'm guessing Roman beats Drew for the stays champ, and I think Kevin Owens is next because they've dropped the hints on more than one episode now, so it's not a mistake or an accident. They're planting seeds for that next feud, and I'm guessing that's happening after Clash at the Castle.
And they've got an easy pivot for Drew to Karrion Kross.
Right. So I think Karrion Kross cost Drew the match, and that's how they go.
Jimmy, I saw someone say this on Twitter. I wish I got their name because I want to give credit, but I saw someone say, and I want to get your thoughts on this, that Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn have Rock and Sock Connection vibes. Do you get that same kind of vibe?
In a sense, now that you said it, I do see it, but at the same time, I'm seeing that they play off each other so well. It's amazing. Sammy is very underrated as a sports entertainer. Sorry to offend people out there who don't like the term, but you know what? Guess what? That's what he is. And Kevin Owens, whatever you give him, he makes work. He is just that damn good. And what I can see down the road is those two eventually reforming their bond. Maybe, like you said, when that match does happen with KO and Roman Reigns for the title, they look towards Sammy to help get involved, and he hesitates, which causes a little riff there. I don't see KO winning the title, but at the same time, I see the riff happening, and then that's when you see maybe KO and Sammy get together and take away the tag titles from the Usos. And that's this is long term. I'm not saying this should happen at the next pay-per-view or anything like that, but I could see seeds being planted for that sort of thing.
They haven't had the tag titles yet, have they? Sammy and Kevin Owens.
I don't believe so.
Well, the Usos have had them for 15 years now. And when did KO start?
Yeah. No, I love that idea, Jimmy, with KO and Sammy against the Usos for the tag titles after KO is done with Roman. So I think that'd be great.
Like
the
I said,
crowd will come unglued if that happens.
The way you can tie it in is like Roman is expecting Sammy to help him, and he can't do it because KO's his buddy. And,
right.
And then
they planted those seeds. So like that's the beauty of if you have that moment where Sami Zayn is like holding the chair and Kevin Owens is down, you're like, is he going to hit him or is he going to turn around and hit the Usos or whatever? If you have that moment, we're all going to be on the edge of our seats. Is he really going to join his friend? Or, you know what I mean? Like it's that perfect, like I could see it going either way. And that's what makes it so great is you just don't know.
And another thing with that is I do believe now that because in the past you would see a lot of these things and they just get dropped or forgotten about. And now I do believe that a lot of these things that they're doing, they have a plan for it. They have a direction that they're going. It's not like they're just throwing it out on TV one week and then forgetting about it. So
I was saying this, and not to make it an NXT podcast, but one of my favorite things that they've done is when Dexter went back last week and carried Indy Hartwell out and then gave her the note saying goodbye for now, but maybe again down the road. Because to me, it said that the WWE is now not just saying, oh, yeah, that's over, we're moving on. Like they tied up it was just a simple, like, let's tie a bow on it, let's end it, and then move on. And to me as a viewer, that sent the message like, okay, now things matter, because now they do want to tie up these loose ends, and they don't want to just have us all going, well, Dexter's on Raw, why isn't he talking to Indy? Like, just a very simple, doesn't mean anything other than they're acknowledging they need to tie a bow on things. And to me, that was just a very, very important thing that they did long term as far as getting my buy into things in the future. Mm-hmm. Speaking of buy into things in the future, Johnny Gargano is just chatting it up in the chairs, and Theory shows up. And Theory's like, why didn't you call me? And Gargano's like, why didn't you call me? And then Theory says Gargano is jealous and that he needs to be careful because he's swimming with sharks. Raj, what I love about this is it just reminds us that these two don't like each other. They didn't have to have a match where they see if they can coexist. They didn't have to have rematch after rematch. It was just a simple, oh yeah, we still hate each other. Like, didn't change the world, but I liked this. What did you think?
Yeah, again, it felt more realistic the way this was done, by having it about them not calling each other. That stuff people can relate to. I just, I don't want to be one of those guys that's just constantly being like, now everything's so much better because Triple H is in charge or whatnot. But these interview segments and these backstage segments, I do think are just way better. And I thought this was really well done. And every one of the interview segments I thought tonight was really good. And, obviously I thought the Riddle and Seth Rollins stuff was outstanding. So I thought this was really great. And it wasn't like Austin Theory was just a total heel. Like he's like, you didn't call me either. And, like it kind of went both ways. So I thought it was really well done.
Yeah. And you make a good point that he's still a jerk, but like, it's not outlandish. It's not for no reason. It's like, yeah, I kind of get that. Mm-hmm. Jimmy, are you team Theory or are you team Gargano?
No, I'm team Gargano. He's a buddy of mine. That's a personal thing. But at the same time, like you guys said, I love the way it was done because not only did it sound real, it sounded authentic. They were able to plug in some of the history that some people may not be aware of while they were, having this verbal battle with each other. And you talk about talking people into the seats. I don't know if they talked people into seats, but they talked me into wanting to see these two guys get in the ring and settle their differences now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought Theory was really good here too, in that he didn't come across as over the top. For a young guy that's still getting his push, he just came across pretty natural, slightly arrogant enough that it wasn't over the top, but that you knew who the heel in the situation is. Mm-hmm. And I thought he handled it beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think that Theory seems way more comfortable than he did a few weeks ago? Like, I don't know if it's just the way things are being written or that he's working with Gargano, who he knows, but he just seems more comfortable than he has in the past.
I think there's a little bit to do with it is now guys are going out there and it's not, you have to speak verbatim what is on it. I think guys are given a little bit of creative freedom. I'm not saying they're go out there and here's 3 bullet points, make sure you hit those 3 and say whatever the heck you want. But at the same time, they're allowed to go out there and be the character they want to be and create. And they're given a little more leeway. I don't want to say that, the reins have been taken off. There's still a little bit of constraints there, but at the same time, they're feeling comfortable where they are right now. Mm-hmm.
Well, Jimmy, you did say that you like Gargano for personal reasons. So my headline is going to read, Jimmy hates Theory. It's personal.
Hey, it's probably going to come out there. That's going to be out there.
So we get to the end of the show here. It's Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah versus Io Sky and Dakota Kai. And I'll be honest, this is actually where I really felt the crowd just disappear from the building, which was really disappointing considering all the work that went into this, trying to get these titles back up to where they're supposed to be. It ends as the the good guys chase off Bayley, and during the ruckus, Aaliyah gets a blind tag and then rolls up Dakota Kai for the win. Fireworks go off, and the villains and the heroes all yell at each other. Now, Jimmy, I think there's something you're going to be upset about, but you know what I'm upset about? That I'm supposed to like Aaliyah, even though that she blind tags and leaves her partner there to just get beat up for a few minutes before she runs in and steals the glory. That's a jerk move.
She pinned the wrong person.
If I went and rewatched the match, I'd be like, what were you doing? Why didn't you come in and help me?
Yeah, I found that a little odd as a babyface team to do something like that. It almost feels like a heel team would do something like that.
Right.
It felt a little reversed. I get it. It was different. It was creative. I get what what they were trying to accomplish here. Here's the tag. I've been out of the picture so long. They haven't seen me for a while. I'm going to tag myself in legally and then go down to the floor. What happened to the old rule? I complain about referees all the time enforcing rules. She fell back down to the floor to create the illusion that she's still out of the picture, but there's a 5 count to make that switch. And the referee didn't even acknowledge a count. So yes, I get you can fudge the numbers a little bit, but come on.
Yeah. I feel like I'd be a terrible tag team partner. The whole time I'd be like, I'm not the legal person. Quit hitting me. My partner, go get my partner.
The one negative, or one of the negatives, is that they did the whole, the awkward way you watch the screen backstage is apparently still there. Or you're like looking at it sideways and, but I thought the women worked really hard in this match. I felt bad for them because the crowd was just so quiet. And you're looking at 2 teams that weren't teams a month ago, and so it's gonna take time to build these stars up. But again, the crowd was dead most of the show during the matches, and they were really quiet here. But I'll give WWE credit. They try to make it seem like a big deal. They had the pyro and everything. And that's what you want more of. You want to make these title changes feel special. For the longest time, the women's tag titles have felt like a complete afterthought. So it's going to be a little bit of a rebuilding phase. But, again, I think with Sasha and Naomi coming back too, it's going to give that extra added star power. So, it's just going to take time. But I thought they all worked really hard. And, it was what it was, though.
Jimmy, did this get you interested in the women's tag team division again? Obviously, the idea of this was to kind of reignite it. Do you feel like the crowd wasn't into it, but outside of that, do you feel like there's a renewed interest in maybe new opponents for the tag team champions and this division?
I don't want to go that far and say that just yet. I think there might have been more interest with the heel team going over tonight, which was, if they did, a lot of people say, well, that was very predictable. But at the same time, sometimes there's nothing wrong with being predictable if it's what the right choice is, depending on what's happening coming forward, especially if the rumors are true that we've been hearing about a returning women's tag team, the former champs. If that's the case, when they come back, people are automatically going to cheer them, regardless of how they're presented. Even if they're presented as heels, the fans are going to want to cheer them. Kind of like they want to cheer Becky when Becky is a heel and and that sort of thing. So I'm not sure this is the right choice, especially for a young team, putting the titles on them. And if you're going to take them away quickly, again, I'm not sure it's the right choice.
Yeah. I'll say, going back to what I said about NXT and me sort of having a little bit more faith in where things are going, because of that, I do have let's see how this plays out. In the past, it'd be like, is there going to be a mechanical spider in that cage? But now I'm like, okay, maybe they'll do something. Maybe they've got a plan here.
Yeah. And then, you get a new act going. So, but I'm kind of with Jimmy. I do still think that Io and Dakota Kai should have won. They're kind of in the more established team. They've shown that they could go in the ring. They're already really good, and I think having it more on established characters to get the belts kind of going again would have been the right move.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me too. But now I guess looking at it, I could see reoccurring teams of Shotzi and Xia Li. I could see Io Sky and Dakota Kai staying a team. Obviously, now the champs have to stay a team. I think probably Natty and Baszler could probably stay a team. So I feel like, I guess the benefit of this is if Sky and Kai won, then I would think that, well, Raquel and Aaliyah are done. They're probably not going to tag team ever again. But now I know they're going to tag team. Right. And Kai and Sky are probably still going to tag team. So at least it makes it feel like a deeper roster in the division. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it's really just bleeding.
If that works for you, that's cool.
Oh, man. Well, I think we're all still waiting now for Banks and Naomi to show up, though. That's the that's going to be the shadow kind of looming over this division until that gets fixed. Because I don't think no matter what they do, there's always going to be that. But when are they coming back?
Exactly.
You know, that's kind of going to be a bummer. So we'll see how that plays out. But that was the show. I thought it was year for year. If we do year for year, like with the ratings, I would say this was a great show. I would say compared to the last month, probably one of the weaker ones. But what did you guys think? Jimmy, we'll start with you. What did you think?
No, I thought it was a good show. Again, it's a step in the right direction, and that's what it's all about. It's about, I don't want to say correct all the wrongs from the past. It's just being different from what wasn't working. And what they're doing now under these new regimes, so to speak, is heading in a different direction. And people wanted, you can't have change. You can't do a 180 overnight. You got to take your time. You got to, take your steps to advance certain storylines, advance certain talents, advance certain ideas and thoughts, and start changing people's perceptions of what they may think they're going to see. And I think they're, like I said, they're heading in the right direction. It's going to take some time. No show is perfect, so stop.
Except for this one.
Well, that goes without saying,
right?
But again, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing now, and I hope they continue the progress forward.
Raj, you took some time off. I don't know how closely you were watching all the Raws before this one. How did this one? How did you feel about this one? And what was your score? And then what was your score if the crowd was lively?
There you go. I thought the booking all made sense. Again, you could debate the Io not winning, Io and Dakota. That's the one thing that we'll see where it goes. But I thought the rest of the show, the booking was all made a lot of sense. The matches there was nothing bad. I thought the matches were all good. And I thought the interview promos, backstage segments were really good, way better than they've been. So again, the crowd being dead hurt it some, and that would be the biggest downer on the show, was not having the heat in the matches. But outside of that, I thought from a booking standpoint, it was really good.
Well, if I remember, next week I'm going to challenge Justin LeBar and ask why he personally didn't make sure that was a loud crowd on TV.
He killed the crowd.
Nah, he was too busy catering.
I think his the guy he manages, Slade, was there, one of the guards today. So he was working overtime, getting his guy booked. But that does it for us. That does it for the show. Thank you to everyone who's been in the chat: Ricky, Bernie, Mr. Croissant, Bernie, DC, Jessa, Baby Ice, Joan Toe, Chris, Bernie, I think I'm repeating, Randy, and everyone else. Adam Staples, thanks so much for being in the chat with us live, stalking you as well. Thanks so much for being in the chat and joining us. Before we go, Raj, where can the world find you online and keep up with your world travels?
Just follow me at the Raj Giri on Twitter, and that's about it. Keep checking out Wrestling Inc.
Always remember 303.
And I will be back on the podcast this Saturday after Clash at the Castle. Cool. It'll be myself, Issa, and Alfred. So,
did you get any scoops on who's winning?
I usually, when I get those, I don't post them on the site. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, I got the Royal Rumble winners and Christian being the surprise. But I told people, if you want to know, DM me, I'll let you know. But I'm not posting these because I don't like posting spoilers, and I never even ask for them. So
that's never any fun. Jimmy, where can the world find you and everything you're working on?
Well, you can find me here on Wrestling Inc. With you guys, and on Wednesday nights with Issa and Justin. And Justin's not there this Wednesday, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And you can catch me doing my ref and rants on weekdays from Monday to Friday on all my social media at Jimmy Korderas, and on my Instagram, my Facebook, and you can get my ref and rant T-shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com, including this one too, which is Canadian Heat Magnet.
Well, I'm Jack Farmer. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media, but I always recommend follow at Wrestling Inc. across all social media as well. So much news going on. That's where you find it all. You can also check us out on the NXT after show tomorrow, the Dynamite after show on Wednesday, the SmackDown Rampage after show Friday. We're going to have a Clash of the Castle on Saturday. Are we doing it all out on Sunday?
Yeah, all out on Sunday. Chuck Carroll, Michael Wiseman, and Issa.
And a Worlds Collide.
We're going to do both on that same one.
Oh, okay. That's a long wrestling day.
Yeah.
But we will be there to cover it. Make sure to check it out. Thank you again to everyone. Leave a 5-star review. Why don't you? And we'll see you